Good day everyone, it's me, your Ate Jackie. Today, come and join me. Let us read the people of the Bible. This is about Bible. Okay. In the first page, I write it in a piece of paper because in this book, there is missing. So I write it now. Then let us read the Genesis 1, verse 1, 3, verse 24. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Okay, let's continue the people of the Bible reading. God separated the light from the darkness. He called the light day and the darkness night. Then God stretched space deep and wide. He placed the planet and the stars in the sky. He created water and land on earth with plants to grow. God filled the ocean with fish of amazing shapes and colors. Be fruitful and multiply, he told them. God made birds to fly overhead. Then he made animals of every kind to live on land. Some creatures were large, and some were small. Some were spiky, and some were soft. God loved all that he had made, but he wasn't finished yet. God had one last creation, people. God made a man and named him Adam. He made a woman and named her Eve. Adam and Eve loved each other very much. Together, they give names to God's creations. God told Adam and Eve to take good care of the animals. Then they all lived together peacefully in the beautiful garden called Eden, feeling God's love everywhere. God provided for all their needs. They could eat any fruit they wanted, except the fruit from the tree in the middle of the garden. One day, an evil snake tricked them into eating it anyway. Adam and Eve knew that they had sinned. They became afraid and tried to hide. Yet, God can see everywhere and found them. When he learned that they had disobeyed, God was very, very sad. He sent them away from the garden to never return. From now on, they would have to work hard and grow their own food. Adam and Eve never felt as close to God again. Now let's read about Cain and Abel in Genesis 4, 4 verse 18. Adam and Eve made a home for themselves outside of the garden. Soon, Eve gave birth to a baby and named him Cain. Then they had a second son, named him Abel. God loved their family very much. He watched out for them, seeing all that happened. Cain and Abel each had a special job. Abel took care of the animals, while Cain took care of the fields. Both Cain and Abel loved God. They each wanted to give God a gift. Cain gave God some of the crops from his harvest, but Abel gave God his best lamb. When God saw the gift, he was happier with Abel's gift than Cain's. This made Cain very jealous to his brother. Cain told Abel to come out into the field with him. Then Cain attacked his brother and killed him. Since God sees everything, he knew what Cain had done. God was so angry that he sent Cain away from home, telling him that he will never be able to grow anything again. But it's never too late to ask for forgiveness. Even after the terrible thing Cain had done, God kept him from harm and gave him a family of his own. Okay, that is the life of Abel and Cain. Now let's read about Noah in Genesis 9 verse 16. A long time passed. Adam and Eve had a descendant named Noah, who loved God with all his heart. But the rest of the world had stopped listening to God. People were violent and sinful. God was so unhappy that he decided to start over with just one family, Noah's. God said to Noah, "Get ready." God was going to send a flood to cover the whole earth. God told Noah to build an enormous boat of strong wood, 450 feet long. The boat should also have many floors with many rooms and a big door and the side. He should put a roof on the top. People came from far around to laugh at Noah as he worked away. After all, Noah was building about a boat in the desert. When the boat was at last finished, God told Noah to gather every kind of animal, 2 by 2. Noah and his family loaded them into the boat. They divided the animals into the different rooms. God promised to keep everyone safe from the storm to come. The storms began. Noah and his family went into the boat last and closed the door. Then it began to rain and rain and rain. The ocean filled up and the sky poured down. The earth flooded for 40 days and 40 nights. The boat rose higher and higher above the earth as the water grew deeper. Even the mountains became covered. God did not forget faithful Noah. At last the rain stopped and the waves became still. Noah sent a raven to find dry land, but the bird came back. No dry land yet. Noah sent out a dove. The dove also came back, so everyone waited in the boat. When Noah sent out the dove a second time, it brought back a leaf. The earth was drying up. The third time, the dove did not come back. Noah knew that it was time. He opened the row of the boat. And then, when God commanded, Noah opened the door. The animals were overjoyed to be on land again. Noah and his family were grateful too. Everyone praised God. Then Noah built an altar where he gave God gifts to thank him for keeping them safe. God had made a new world. Then God made 3 promises to Noah. The first promise was that there would always be seasons: summer, autumn, winter, and spring. God also said that there would always be night and day. His last promise was that he will never again flood the whole earth. To make sure that people never forgot this promise, God placed a beautiful rainbow in the sky. Noah and his family began to make a new home. God blessed them, and they had many children and grandchildren. Rainbows reminded the people that God's love is gigantic and never has an end. Okay, that is the story about Noah's family. Today, we read about Abraham's story in Genesis 12, 1:22 verse 18. Okay. After a while, some people forgot about God and his promises, but not Abraham. He served God faithfully in all he did. God saw that Abraham had great faith, so he asked him to leave his home. God wanted to start a new nation out of him. Abraham did as God told him. He set off with his wife Sarah on the long journey to a new land. God kept them safe and strong. He also blessed them with riches. And God gave many animals, goats, sheep, and camels. Abraham and Sarah traveled day after day through the hot desert. They knew that God was leading them. It was dry and dusty, but God gave them water. Abraham always remembered to stop and thank God for loving them so much. On a mountain top, God spoke to Abraham. Look around you. All the land you see is for your family. You will have as many descendants as the dust. When it grew dark, God said, look at the sky. You will have as many descendants as the stars. God gave Abraham and Sarah a beautiful boy. They named him Isaac. One day, God told Abraham to take Isaac up to Hilltop. He wanted Abraham to give Isaac back to him. Abraham was very sad. He loved his son Isaac, and he didn't want him hurt. But since God was the most important part of his life, he decided to obey. Early the next morning, Abraham took Isaac and set off. When they got to the place that God had instructed, Abraham built an altar and laid Isaac on top. But right before Abraham was about to kill Isaac, a voice came from heaven. Don't hurt the boy, said the angel of the Lord. Now you have proven your faith because you were willing to give up your precious son. But God does not want the boy to die. Abraham was very grateful. He loved Isaac more than anything on earth. Abraham thanked God for saving the boy's life. God promised to protect Abraham and his family for a long time to come. The whole world will be blessed because Abraham obeyed God. That's what happened to Abraham's life and peoples of the Bible. Okay, let us read about Sarah's life. In Genesis 18:21 verse 7. Isaac was such a big blessing to Abraham and Sarah because they almost thought he would never arrive. When they started getting old, they still had no children, but through all their journeys, they believed that God would give them the big family. He had promised they had to have at least one baby if they were going to have as many descendants as stars in the sky. Yet, it got harder and harder to keep believing. Sarah was now over 90 years old. One day, three strangers came to visit. Sarah and her servant prepared their very best food. Abraham stood nearby as they ate, realizing that the visitors were sent from God. Sarah was listening inside the tent when one of the visitors spoke. He said that Sarah would soon have a baby. Sarah laughed right out loud. How could an old lady have a baby? The visitor said, why did Sarah laugh? Nothing is impossible for God. Sure enough, Sarah soon had a baby boy. They named him Isaac. Sarah was very happy and praised God for his wonderful gift. She had waited a long time, but God always keeps his promises. Sarah said, God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. Abraham and Sarah lived long and joyful lives with Isaac as the beginning of the enormous family God had promised. Isaac would grow up to marry Rebekah, and they would have many children. Those children would also have many children. Abraham and Sarah's family was very blessed because they followed God wherever He led them. Okay, that's what happened to Sarah.